So this is from an idea that I originally saw on HeliFreak, and it's to improve the DX7 stick feel by adding some new bearings onto the axes of the sticks. So what we can see just to the right here, if I come in a little bit closer, we've got some 4x7x2 open case bearings which we're going to put onto the stick gimbals, replacing some bronze bushings that are currently in there. So I'm just going to open up the transmitter case and show you where they need to go. Okay, so here we have my DX7, and what I've done in the interest of time is I've actually taken all the screws out of the back already. So there are screws here, 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 and also a couple of screws in here. And I've actually removed those, and that should allow you to then open the case up like so. Be careful because there is a connecting wire that you can see here that connects the two case halves together, so you have to be careful that you don't pull that apart. Now the bearings we're going to put in and the bushes that we're going to replace, I can point out. So on each stick, you might be able to see this one over here. There is a bronze bush down here that one of the sticks runs on, and similarly the other side there's a bronze bush like that, and then on the other axis of the stick, so that's your up-down axis, and then the other way, which is your left to right axis, there is a bushing right in here, so we actually need to get into this one here to replace that particular. Actually it's the other side, it's at the bottom, it's right down here, and there's a bearing at the top, so the other one is right down in here. So we've got to take apart completely both of the stick gimbals. Okay, so I'm working on the throttle stick first, and what I've done is I've already removed these 4 screws from this side, which has exposed the bronze bushing here and also the bearing the other side. However, to actually get this gimbal out so I can get at this bronze bush, you've also got to take the throttle ratchet, or the thing that gives you the stiffness on your throttle stick. You need to remove that in order to finally just lift this gimbal out and get the bearing on the end there. Okay, so I've now done that. Now what you'll notice I've done is I've just undone the top screw here rather than this one here, because this screw here is the one that sets the tension on the ratchet here. So just by undoing this top one and rotating the tensioner away, it means that when I put this back together I'll have exactly the same stick tension as I'm used to. So I haven't actually changed the feel of the radio at all, because I haven't touched this particular screw here. Okay, so what I've done now is I've just slid this assembly, I've lifted it this end just to clear the bushing, and then just slid it that way a little bit, and that just allows it to pop out so that you can get at this bushing to remove it. Okay, so like so. So we've now got the bushing off of there, and I can replace that now with the bearing. This is a 4x7x2 open cased bearing, and that just fits nice and tightly on the end there like that. Okay, so I've got the gimbal right out now, and we need to get at the other bushing, which is right down inside there, which means we need to take apart the gimbal itself now. And the way to do that is we need to undo these 2 screws, take this spring off of here, and then we can get the thing apart. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, doing this second bearing, which is down in here, just I don't know if you can see that down in there. This is really much more difficult than the first bearing, And the reason behind that is you actually need to get the gimbal apart. So you can see these two pieces come apart, and basically you've got these little spring clips each side which spring into the holes in either side of the gimbal, and what you need to do is just use something that you can put gently into that hole, squeeze it with a pair of pliers gently, and it will pop one of these retaining arms out and allow the whole thing to separate away. So this is sort of clipped in there like that, and it separates away like that. But you need to put something in here just to push against that little tab to get it apart, and then that allows you to get inside to the gimbal itself. And then we need to start undoing more screws in here to get to the gimbal itself, as well as removing a spring. There's a little tiny spring which I've already removed, which is the stick tensioner. You can see that here. That was on this arm, and I just used a pair of pliers to just gently remove that as well. Okay, so I'm going to take these plates off here now to allow me to get in closer to get this gimbal completely apart, so I can get at that last bushing. Okay, so you can see I've now got those metal plates off, and we can see the bushing that we're looking to replace here, and the bearing the other side. So we just need to pull this stick out of here now, and put the new bearing where that bushing is. Okay, so there we go. I've just literally just pulled that straight out, and we can now take this bushing off and put our new bearing, which again will be a very tight fit. Onto the end there, and there we go. That's now fully ball bearinged, and should give us a much nicer, smoother response on the stick. So now it's reversing the whole procedure and putting this all back together again. Okay, so I've now reinstalled the metal plates on here, and our gimbal is now running freely on those new bearings. And I put this plastic piece back through the axis, the rotation of the gimbal. And having done that, we can then clip the whole thing back into the case that it came out of. And this will only go one way. Okay, now I've got this lined up properly. There's a little cutout here which shows you it's like a little arc which fits one side, and that arc isn't on the other side, so it's keyed, so you can't put it together wrong. So having got it all lined up, you can then pressure it, and there we go, it clicks back together like so. And now you're ready to reinstall the spring on the little thing here, which will give you your stick tension back. So I'll just put that spring back on, and then we can install the gimbal back into the hole, and replace all of the screws and securing parts. Okay, I just want to show you here that I've now reconnected the spring here, which is the stick tensioner, and that's now the inner gimbal all assembled again. So now we can actually install this back into the recess in the transmitter, and then resecure it. So I'm just going to slide this gimbal now back onto this little post that sticks out here, which goes through the larger bearing here. So this needs to sort of sit down in the recess and then slide in, and then the new bearing we've installed will push into this retaining hole here. Okay, so that's the gimbal back in place. Now, one thing to be very aware of is that there is a little pot here which turns when you move the stick, and this pot is keyed to fit the hole
in the bearing. So you must make sure that the arm on this pot that goes in the centre of the bearing is orientated correctly to actually fit in the slot in there. If you try and slide this back in and that arm isn't orientated properly, it won't go in. So you need to turn it so it's vertical, so there's a flat this side and a flat that side, and then it will fit into the keyed hole in the centre of this bearing, and then this whole thing will slide in. But if you don't line it up, it just will not go in, and you'll be fiddling with it for hours. So having got that back in there, we can now install the metal plates back on here and rotate this arm round to here and screw it all back together. So I should just go ahead and do that. Okay, so there we go. I've now installed the metal plate this side and the metal plate this side and put the throttle ratchet back. And then I actually noticed that I'd forgotten to actually install one of the metal plates, one of these little things, and it's actually goes down here, but fortunately you can still get to this one just by rotating the stick, and that metal plate goes in here, screws into these two pieces here and just holds this pot here, which is sensing your left-right movement on the stick. Just holds that pot in place. So I've now got to go ahead and put the metal plate on there as well. Okay, so you can now see I've installed the metal plate on the bottom here, which holds this potentiometer in place. And that's it. That's one gimbal fully ball raced now. Should give you a much nicer stick movement, a nice feel on the sticks, take some of the sloppiness away, makes it all a bit nicer. So we now have to repeat that procedure on the stick the other side, although this one is a tiny bit simpler because we don't have the throttle ratchet over here. We don't have this on our cyclic gimbal, so it's a repeat procedure to do exactly the same thing on the other side. There is one other difference as well, which is the cyclic has an extra spring, which you can see down in here, which needs to be removed because with this cyclic stick obviously has two tensioners on it, not one, so this spring also needs to be removed as well as the one on the left-right gimbal. Okay, last thing I would say about doing this particular upgrade is that this is very, very fiddly to do. It's very, very easy to slip and damage your radio whilst trying to get at these little tiny screws, and the plastic on the gimbals, it would be very easy to when you're unclipping the inner gimbal to actually break the plastic. So as a word of advice, only do this if you're very, very confident that you can take the gimbal out without damaging the internals of your radio, and you're very comfortable working with very, very fiddly little bits of plastic. If you've got hands like meat hooks, you're going to really, really struggle doing this upgrade. It's very, very fiddly. There's lots of little tiny screws, and it's not one of the easiest things I've had to do. Certainly much more difficult than building a micro helicopter. Getting these out successfully without damaging the little tiny components is quite hard. So just a word of warning, you know, if you're planning on doing this, be aware that it's not a simple thing to do. Okay, well that's it. I hope that explains how you upgrade the bearings on the gimbals, and good luck.